We are now back for the lower bracket. This is where it matters, Woman.
KP,
yeah.
do you see the thing we did? The problem we just caused? So stop making calls. Stop making predictions, because look at the draft. Which chat? You see this draft? Do you see what KP did? Me and KP.
Whoa.
So that's why I cut you off.
Put yourself back on the execution block, okay? Don't throw me under. You started this.
Sorry, guys. I'm cursed. We are here to bring you Archipelago and Holy Island because, guys, we know you love water. So that's why we put them in this tournament. We made sure to tell these players we need more water maps. And Twitch chat, you will love them. Because these guys, they know how to play them well and aggressive. And their games are very short on these guys. So they know how to close out things when they get a little bit too actionable. But, KP, we're starting it off with a little bit of a hairline situation on Baldland. Byzantines versus Zushi. Are you ready?
I mean, VortiX is the master of the board. You should surely have this in the bag. We'll have to see, though. Anotand, always a crafty demon. We head into Elimination Series here. VortiX, Le Spaniard, as the Byzantines up against Anotand himself on the Zushi. And, this is going to be a fun one. You know, we promised them no water, and we may break that promise. But actually, in fairness, Warman, it's a best of 5. There's 3 maps that land. We could still be true to our word.
Maybe. But Byzantines already giving us a little bit of a taster of where this series is going to go. It's going a little spicy because I don't know if you noticed this, KP, but this is not a standard build out of Byzantines. And Twitch chat, 5 points if you know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll give you guys a second there. But VortiX is already spicing things up just a little bit. But yes. If we get a 3-0, then maybe we won't see the day of water just yet.
I think, like, I don't mind if we go to a Holy Island. The Archipelago is, I think, the one where people have mixed opinions. It's interesting, though, because, like, the last time I watched VortiX and Anotand on Archipelago, it delivered one of the most epic showdowns of demo spam I've ever seen, so wouldn't write them off. But opening-wise, it is going to be the priority build towards max system level, which has become insanely popular for Byzantines. I know VortiX in particular, the day they made that change, I just saw him on the ladder constantly testing out 2, 3, 4 on stone to see which felt best.
And he's giving us that answer. 3 on stone it is. But with 3 on stone, you're already putting yourself into a pretty strange position when it comes to trying to shut down Zushi, especially when they're so happy with pro scouting on this map. So we see Zushi with a lot of playing cards, right? So Zushi is a civ that can easily go for a fast castle, easily just snack all the deer on the map. And Byzantines delaying themselves that bit, they get a huge eco boost, but it takes a while to kick in. And Zushi is so good at denying any civ who tries to be a little bit greedy.
And Meditation Garden, not going to be too crazy here. Yeah, we won't talk about that. There was a good food one at the back, but if you're going to do pro scouts, the food isn't as important. The sad part is you could have got gold, wood, and the rest. It just would have been better. But you know, the thing is, when you play this map, you don't tend to scout your back corner first, and that's led to all kinds of awkward problems I've seen in the past. Where, like, if you're scouting the back last, sometimes on this map you get double gold forward, and if you're against an aggressive civ and you don't realize you don't have a retreat gold, you put yourself in a really dangerous position. So, you know, in this game, it won't be that type of Dark Age rush. You're never going to get that. I mean, Byzantines is probably one of the chiller civs in the Dark Age. I think the only one that might be chiller is Malians.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like, those two do not want to play Age 1 at all.
Yeah, the more time you give them, the better they feel. Grand Winery coming on out with 4 villages, so we're getting a pretty normal age up timing. But VortiX is already on level 3 system, and I think as a Byzantines player, this feels good. 4th system coming down now, already connected. Guys, this is the best Wi-Fi connection any civilization can ask for. And we can see it all the way out here on the berries itself. But my big question is going to be, what is Anotand going to do with this feudal? We see him still having 5 on gold, though. And 5 is a very dangerous number to leave on gold. Now getting pro scouts, but 5 is not being removed, should I say? Maybe forced drop off, but 5 still on gold for Anotand. And this is a pretty scary number to have out there, especially if you're a civilization who plans to stay in feudal and use your very strong Wi-Fi.
I mean, well, this is so he needs an extra imp official soon, which boom just came in, and then some other techniques. Wheelbarrow still is pretty nice to get a lot of the time. Even though, like, the weird thing is, a lot of people just rush wheelbarrow, and if you think about it, it contradicts the point of pro scouts. Because you know, there's a famous Greek once said, if you're walking, you're not working. If you're working, you're not walking. So, like, if you go pro scouts, the benefit is you shouldn't have to walk because the food comes to you. But most of the time, we just see people say to hell with it and get both. So stables drop on the way. For VortiX, I'm curious if he's even going to try to posture aggressively. Like, it makes sense to guard the center tier location, but this is probably the hardest or top 3 hardest pro scout maps to stop pro scouting on because the deer are so spread.
Yeah, in previous games, we saw that when the deer spawns on the same side, you get control. But that's just not an option here. And now already getting 3 scouts out, but we do see Anotand pulling away from gold. He's not going to be going for the fast castle shenanigans. He's going to play the feudal with a lot of food, at least for a while. But 10 on food? That's still a pretty hefty amount. Definitely, if you're going to be going into a little bit of horsemen as well to get that type of control on the map. With the barracks follow-up, he's going to be adding some spears in the mix too to shut down this Wi-Fi connection that's just getting everywhere.
Wait. Yeah, I was about to say, what if this is just PG? I would explain his gold. Yeah, so we've got Palace Guard Feudal, which
my
is...
goodness.
I feel like Palace Guard Feudal is probably one of the most polarizing units in Age of Empires 4. It's either OP in your brain or it sucks. And we've seen a lot of pro players pivot back and forth from those feelings. It's like in their minds, like, this is a great strategy. And then it just takes one game. You're like, this was the worst idea I've ever had in all my years playing.
Now, of course, it depends on whether VortiX is going to have the answer to killing any Palace Guards, because him just making limit an A, it just doesn't feel this. It doesn't hit as hard against those bad boys with all of them swinging. And they're going to be heading out and revealing themselves pretty quickly, though. And I think this is maybe an issue because this gives VortiX an opportunity to react to it. So Palace Guards now showing themselves. He knows what's coming, but more limit an A on the way. And longbows, the weapon of choice. But now, what else do you make to be able to handle the Palace Guards? Because, of course, most people would just go into a heavy archer composition, which is not something Byzantines is too happy with doing.
Longbows is really all you need. You know, the important thing, though, is the Palace Guard play is very hard to now intercept pro scouts. But for VortiX, as often is the case with Byzantines, your goal is just try and keep the longbows alive, get the count up to like 15, and then you just go castle. You know, because with the level 5 system build, the Castle Age Rush feels kind of broken. Getting longbows for free every 1.5 minutes is a huge inflation to your economy.
And then you might actually have an answer to armored units in feudal that do feel quite hard to handle.
Yeah, weirdly enough, like as you scale into castle, because Palace Guard have less armor, longbows vetted do fare better than normal archers. And you just then add in a few cataphract or even just limitane. Like the limitane are surprisingly tanky, right? Because of the extra 10 HP, they don't just flop dead as quickly as spearmen would against Palace Guard.
And that does give the longbows a little bit of an opportunity. But as I say opportunity, both of these players are putting their split pretty significantly onto something that could be a fast castle if they just stop producing. So Anotand now constantly making those Palace Guards, but if he decided to change his mind, even just for a moment, it would be so fast of a transition. So with VortiX now edging that way himself, this begs the question, if Anotand sees this, is he just going to say, okay, I'll see you in castle, good luck, have fun, or I'm going to flood you in fuel, good luck, have fun?
No, that's the thing. Palace Guard can't really dive a TC in feudal. Not normally anyway, it's very difficult. And especially considering VortiX prioritized Steeled Arrow. Like, without Steeled Arrow and him having Underbest, you could kind of believe. But 13 Palace Guard, if they go underneath an outpost in a town center, I don't think any of them are coming back.
Now, there is a outpost being rushed up, but those Palace Guards are going to be in position. He is trying to stop this, and he does have the ability to. But like you said, with this map, you don't have the usual worries of most people. You have a backwards gold that you can fall back on. So VortiX, he does have option B and C as well, but he gets yet another upgrade, And instead of just going straight for the castle, he realizes the importance of just getting these upgrades in the early game and staying up to date on this one.
Yeah, and it does mean that Anatand's going to trigger the Castle Age first. Mount the Academy just got queued, and that's where this does get a little bit scary for VortiX. You know, if he just looms on the edge of the base, Anatand will be able to upgrade Palace Guard and die. If he can even supervise rush Ranged Armor 2 to make it feel like these Lombos shoot plastic.
Now, him seeing all those villagers out on gold, he knew that the Castle Age was coming, and we got our answer, KP. He says, I'll cancel the few Palace Guards in queue and go to Castle, and we'll see how that fight goes. So,
Wait,
yeah?
what? VortiX stepping up like this, though, I don't think you can hit anything.
Especially not with that speed.
No, that's the thing. Lombos, I always used to call them old men with walking sticks. They kind of look like it with the Lombo animation, sometimes the way they like have it at their side. They are so slow that you don't have a chance to do damage here. And now VortiX, out in the open? I guess he's staying close enough to the base that it's not too threatening right now.
But Palace Guards, they will now have +2 ranged upgrade too. And all of a sudden, those longbows are not going to be doing the same amount of damage as you would expect in that feudal age we were talking about. Golden Horn Tower coming on up with 16 villagers. Now, usually when you build your landmark with 16, it's a sign that you need this and you need it now. And that's exactly what VortiX realizes he needs to do. So pulls back the villagers here on the gold. He knows that they're sitting ducks if they just stay around, getting that tower reinforced, at least with a little arrow or two. But it's not going to be hitting hard enough against those Palace Guards that are now +2 range defense. Very happy. But the eco is about to be completely idle, KP.
VortiX has just enough to get veterancy for Lombos. He won't be able to get Steel 2. That's the problem here now. Palace Guard going to chase across. Limitane are the waster. Not really worth engaging with. It's the Lombos you want to be looking for. But do you notice what VortiX done there? He pulled his entire eco away. He's left the TC available to bail him out and shift side to side if need be, which I think is why Anotand isn't trying to dive the Lombos.
He's actually just trying to clean up the front line, because once that front line is cleaned up, we already see what Anotand is doing next. Absolutely nothing different. He is just making more of these. And he knows...
I thought you could just say absolutely nothing.
Nothing else. This man sees his plan is working. He's going to get some idle time on these villagers. And you can see VortiX, he's got a little bit of eco idle time. Those longbows that he's getting for free, they just don't hit the same when half your eco is in shambles.
Still, VortiX didn't lose Lombos. That is really important. You know, it's all about scaling towards critical mass, and that's bad news for Anotand because he's adding in crossbowmen as well, which he has to. Either Byzantines are considering Cataphract or Rangian. That's a problem for you. The bigger problem is because you didn't kill the Lombo count, you're not going to get free access on these fights. What is good for Anno is if you look at the berry spawns, VortiX didn't hit the jackpot here. He got 1 berry patch back, 2 forward. So there's no safety net. He'll have to come forward into a more exposed area if he wants to keep getting all of them.
And now with almost 22 Palace Guards, he's going to have a pretty good time at raiding these resources that are so far out. Now, he is getting a few crossbows himself, making those just if there are cataphracts or any Varangian guards coming from the side of VortiX. But VortiX, he's going for cataphracts. And cataphracts, they usually don't come to a front fight. They go and do some eco damage. So we'll see if VortiX is going to be able to do exactly that, because we see some red dots moving out all around. Cataphracts trying to go straight forward to try and get something. Because Byzantines, they're happy with sitting in their base and letting the eco do the talking. But they're not that happy when there's 6 villagers down.
It's 6 villagers down, but you're 26% eco buff compared to 20% subvision. So it's still tight. Obviously, the trade-off there is like you're going to run out of resources quicker by gathering faster. Is always the negative to think about there. But like to me, the cataphracts, I think they've got a fairly chill time here. My worry is if Anotand doesn't keep Stranglehold on the base, they just become raiders. And he doesn't have an answer to that right now. Like normally you'd expect to see Lancer mass against Cataphract mass. I feel like recently people have been having really bad experiences trying to counter Cataphract with heavy cav.
Now, getting Lancers is going to open this up for Anotand to be the raider himself. And that's exactly what VortiX wants to do with these cataphracts. But That's the beauty of Lancers, being able to harass the economy moving outside the base, which is exactly what VortiX is doing here. And soon enough, because this is Baldland, he's going to need to do that on the woodlines too. But I say that, and Anotand has exactly the same problem. Those deer will not last forever, especially with VortiX being out on the map. We see red dots on every deer pack. He's trying to ensure that this is not free food for all. So the scouts do come in and they try to get deer, but now we have palace guards moving out on these exposed resources. Longbow's doing an amazing job at cleaning up these palace guards. Palace guards, they've got one thing on their mind though, and that's getting rid of these resources outside.
Yoy, look at the bodies hitting the floor. This is what he's worried about, that longbow ball. Once it reaches 25-30, it starts to erase your melee push. You saw Anotand, like, he's just looming with crossbows. He knew if he stood anywhere near this fight, they just die. So great trade for VortiX. Got to be a bit calm here, not overextend too much, right? Because there is a little bit of tempo and momentum here. Instead, though, no chill. What did I expect from the Spanish bull? Cataphracts tramples straight in. The body block was sick there, actually. It stopped Anotand from retreating as quickly. Leads to another 6. Make it 7 kills.
Now, we do see some villagers going down in the back, now 9 total. The problem is just with this longbow mass, there's nothing Anotand is doing right now to answer to this. We do see the palace guards taking a few more hits to actually take down, but the raids don't stop.
Yeah, that chip damage is pretty big, though. I think VortiX needs to be careful because, like, this does impact the next wave of cataphracts as it was the gold being outed up. But still, for the time being, push looks good. I think he just needs to kind of, like, temper it a little. What he's trying to do is just erase the cataphracts counter. Once the crossbow count goes to 0, there's no cat answer, you know? It's like, they're the cats and you're the mouse.
Now, the longbows are still in hefty amounts, doing pretty well with that, but both of these players are going to start running out of food now. We see the berries getting depleted, the deer running out as well. And this is going to be one of those positions where Anotand needs to either try and get control of the deer again, or he's going to just run out of food and have to farm transition. But it feels like he's just focused on getting forward and pushing forward. With these palace guards trying to do a little bit of raiding, we do see the relics being scooped up here by VortiX. And looking at the resources per minute, Anotand still looks like he's in a pretty good spot, especially with food. But this is, again, very limited. He is going to run out of food pretty soon. Oh, I say that. I jinxed it again,
There's always more deer. There's always more deer. There's 36 deer on this map. You don't run out quickly, especially when you're up against Byzantines. Can you guess, like, on average, how much like deer in competitive Byzantines eat?
0?
1.
Oh.
Probably 1. Like, because there's probably one guy who's done it, like, on Altai, you know? It's low. It's very, very low.
Yeah.
And, like, it makes sense. It's a country that loves the pig, the beef, the chicken. Don't ever hear them talking about eating deer.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I didn't connect the dots, but now it all makes sense. Maybe that palace guard, he's running so fast, and he's just slicing villages in half. Now 10 villages down, but like you said, 25% boost. It was a 25, 26. This feels like a pretty heavy amount to lose along the way, though.
It's a lot of out of time. The walk is weird, and you know it's chip damage. There we go. I was about to say you need return fire. VortiX clubs a few downs. Anything you can do, I can do kind of equally. You know, I'm not gonna say better right now. If they fight directly, this is spooky, right, for Anotand, but pretty cool switch coming up. The Cataphracts issue is that there's just so few of them for how good they are. So Anotand is looking to flood Horsemen to erase that Lombo wave.
And that's exactly what I've been wanting to see from Anotand. A little bit of a transition here. He sees, okay, my composition is not ideal against all of this. What am I supposed to do? So this Horseman transition of his, I don't know if VortiX is aware of this, because he's just doubling down on the longbows, getting a few Varangians in the mix now. So it would make a little bit of sense here. But the question is just, is his army going to be able to handle this? You can see those horsemen are hidden all the way to the back. He does not want VortiX to react.
In fairness, you always just build longbows here, you know, and unless you can get out to a trade post maybe and there's a neutral option, you're just going to longbow spam. It's always the way. But the Varangian is pretty cool. You know, he feels like the crossbows are answered, and Varangian, they're very good in melee mosh pit against horsemen. You know, a unit that sacrifices 15 HP to get 1 more melee armor and melee damage. Perfect against ponies. Only negative is, really, Limitane would be your best friend, and did VortiX? Wait, did he see it? Because he's just started producing Limitane out of nowhere.
finding that piece of information is going to be absolutely critical, but he doesn't see the horses just yet. No, what I absolutely love about this is something that a lot of players just miss sometimes. Oh, no, never mind. We cannot talk about that right now.
Well,
There's about to be a horseman flanking. KP, they're going right for the kill.
He's overextended, and he knows it. His counterfracts, they try to steer around to body block as best they can. Lombos, they now jump in towards the crossbowman to get the best clear on offer to VortiX. But it feels inevitable that this should be a fight that does not favor him. He uses the tree line, hugs it closely to minimize the exposure point. But the flood is too big. Breeding season is active, and the ponies are going wild.
That is not an army he could replenish at any point. It's going to require so much olive oil, and there are no farms to subsidize any of that production. Now, Anotand getting pop-capped there for just a little second before this fight as he lost that village, but that is the beauty of this. He very quickly just cleaned up every semblance of an army. And VortiX, like we said earlier, he needs to go out on the map. This man is going to be a sitting duck and quickly losing quite a few units here. But keep in mind, he's still got that eco boost. So this is not all cooked for him. It's just going to be a very bumpy ride forward, especially with all those Vil losses.
I mean, this is the problem when you step up that aggressive Lombos. You need to make damn well sure you've got control of the game. If that had been a fight on his side of the map, very different affair we're talking about, sure. But no, like when you step up like that and you're reinforcing with Rangian, Spearman, whatever it may be, those are infantry. They don't arrive quickly. So VortiX does ultimately get punished. Anotand now a perfect time having raiding cav. And you can see how spread VortiX is. He has to guard for the Fort Gold. That's not a winnable fight. There's a raiding towards his farms. Nothing is going his way in this game.
And Byzantines being one of the strongest civilizations right now, Zushi is up there, and we know it. We've seen Zushi time and time again just get permabanned, but VortiX feeling pretty comfortable on the Byzantines. They're so easy to just misstep, and we can see that with all these longbows just absolutely going down to these horse raids, and another one from the back there. The Mitanay now being drawn forward so the other ones can collapse on this mass, but luckily it does get pushed backwards, and VortiX will survive yet another fight. Let's see if Anotand does another switch.
A Palace Scout and Shugen new switch is not what I would have expected at this point. Intriguing idea. So he's slowing down his army entirely. VortiX has snuck out the east side berries. The horseman wave, I think Anno, if we check, I think he's running low on deer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he runs out for the boar soon. So that would explain why he's getting off of horseman. It's difficult to keep doing this when you don't have farm set up, and Zushi aren't exactly as if known for their gradual farm transition. Meanwhile, the negative for Anotand, despite the fact he's 13 workers ahead, is VortiX is already doing that farm transition.
Yeah, and getting just a little bit of a farming eco going, we're slowly going to see those longbow numbers also making a bit of a comeback. Now,
wait, are we really doing this against a kata?
Mm-hmm.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy, but he will go down eventually. We'll take a few victims with him, 2 to be precise. No, definitely not a 3rd. That villager, he'll be there for the next cataphract to come raid.
Yeah, and the farm count, like, it's looking decent. It's not crazy for VortiX. There's a lot of houses. I love how he really cares about the civil rights of his villagers. Like, there's a house for every farm, it feels like, you know. At the end of the day, you know, you've worked manual labor for 12 hours. We're not going to make you walk far to get back to your house.
And that is the human thing to do in this case. The horses now, though, they're looking for a little bit of a raid, but I feel like with the amount of villages he's got here, he could potentially fight. No, never mind. He doesn't want these guys to be damaged at all. He's got the limited name position, and he is going to put these boys back to work. Maybe get them a little house so they can rest as well, KP.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Vision further up if we went for that tech, but you have the outpost anyway. Maybe just secondary outpost, but I don't think he wants to stay there much longer. In the center, I don't know, like, he's returned to horseman. So is it a bait and switch into 2 crossbows? The wave is pretty big, but against Limitan is kind of a mixed bag. Yes, repeated crossbows are good, but also that shield armor, super impactful against this comp. It feels like Ado doesn't quite have enough melee.
No. Anotand, he's got his attention split though, and he's forcing that on VortiX as well. So these Yuganu, they do end up cleaning up a bit of these, but the Horseman Raid at the back doing phenomenal work. We saw even here at the front line, Anotand is ensuring that he kills villagers along the way. But the question is usually, is this the right way, or do you just go for the military? But the number of villagers that have died, I can honestly say I think this has been worth it for Anotand. He is in a really good spot.
It looked really obtuse, Anatand's approach there. Like, this doesn't seem like a favorable trade. It's even worse if your opponent is maybe building a mangonel tower. You never know with these bad boys. But you're right. Like, it's the trickled raid. Ano isn't doing the all-in. He understands how that can just go grimly against mass Lombos. He's killing him death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, it's a crazy lead economically to have at this stage. And you know, go back a few minutes ago, we started to worry, okay, farm transitions might be where Anotand loses momentum. With this type of worker lead, that now doesn't kill you. You have the option of starting to think about late game and granaries.
We say this, and at the same time, losing Horsemen here is actually so much more impactful from doing that in the early game when he had access to unlimited food. But now you guys are about to see that food go down significantly, even 500 per minute. It feels pretty tough. Anotand knows that he's on a timer, going for the boar now, trying to get every bit of meat on this map. And this is where you start to lose the momentum. And this is the opening that Byzantines has, especially because he's got his farm transition already. He's got a pretty solid flow of oil as well. We can already see that's a longbow pack every minute. So it does feel pretty decent, but at the same time, he needs to make the plays happen. And Anotand is not letting him by just ensuring he's active on the map at all times.
Amazing how much harder it is to wall these days. The change they made to the time to build just really made people reassess the waste of going to do it. And, you know, for VortiX, in a position where he needs walls, being down by this much economy on a map like this, where the best way I've heard it described is Borderland is designed, and this is from the map designer himself, he said, Borderland is designed to be easy to defend your corner, but ultimately a wasted effort. And what he meant by that is that there's just not much resource there. So you have to come out. It's a very weird dynamic when you think about it that way. It's like you could sit here, but your time is incredibly limited. And in VortiX, at some point, you have to start thinking about those bigger tree lines, as we always do. And you can already see that Ano is set up for that on the gold, on the ball. Like, he's going to have great wood control if this game does go long.
It's absolutely wild to see exactly how much food is available on this map. It allows you to keep that momentum going for so much longer than the others. But
yeah,
the wood lines, KP, the wood lines. It's a tough spot. The wood! But wood do you have enough?
They're weird wood lines as well. One of them's just full, and the other one's just like a patchwork sploshing, you know? Like, sometimes you get maps like this, and is it the Rorschach test or whatever it's called? the ink lots. What do you see?
What do you see? We see death and cataphract destruction, KP.
Yeah, if I'm Byzantine, I see destitution. But that army is fat. 41 Limitane, 33 Lombos, and Ano in mid-castle is just mass repeater bows.
Now, these raids are still causing all that go idle time as well. And we did see the army pulling back. And at a point there, that's where you ask yourself, is the Yuganu actually just going to be good enough to take down this army? Because Yuganu, they usually trade against most things pretty well. But the longbows, they make this a lot harder. The problem is just you need a lot of micro to control those. And the Horseman army is not there to clean out the back. Now Anotand's army going down significantly, and VortiX looking like he's got a pretty heavy push here. And with the food per minute, VortiX is looking pretty decent at the moment. This is actually such a tough spot for Anotand. He's got no food in the bank. He's spending every little thing he has, and VortiX is just letting the olive oil and the food do the talking.
VortiX, what an insane cleanup. I mean, for a moment you want to believe for Anotand that this was it. This is the moment. Repeated crossbows, but you know, as much as I want to sit here and say repeated crossbows OP, hate that unit, they do look so underwhelming in these situations. And you see why. When Zushi first came out, one of the classic answers we remember was English. Lombo massing. Because Chug, Palace Guard, these options just didn't stand a chance against a Lombo push. And it's looking like Ano might not stand a chance here. The Cataphracts, they find the walkout. And his army, Ano, he can't step up to this. It's a complete outnumber and outgun. The only upside right now for Anno is he's spread his economy, but everything else is looking full Spaniard favored.
Honestly, with this amount of longbows, there's so few things that can answer to this, and the thing that can is just very expensive. It looked like Anotand was going to be in charge of this. With that villager leader, we saw that it was looking good, but VortiX had one opening, he took it, and there was no answer after that.
Absolutely phenomenal out of VortiX, playing defender for 30 minutes. And if you know anything about him, it's that he doesn't defend. He attacks. He's renowned for it. It's his signature play, but it shows you how much VortiX has continued to evolve into a player that can take champs easily when he plays like this. Anotand at multiple points looked like he was getting the chip damage to bend VortiX over the barrel. The Spaniard comes through strong and reminds us why Byzantines is so often sought as a first pick or second ban in these drafts.
Now, Byzantines, it looked for a second like there was no point of return, and I'm honestly shocked at how many units they were out on the map after that. Now, Anotand, this is such an interesting choice for me. Again, we saw this from Marine Lord against Lucifron, and now we're seeing it from Anotand against VortiX. He willingly decides to go on Archipelago against VortiX. Now, VortiX, we've had a few interviews with him on EGC here. He was born next to the water. Water runs through his blood, and he feels confident on it. Now, I'm not going to say that puts him in the lead, because I might just curse him like I've cursed so many players before this, but he feels confident on Archipelago. And Anotand is giving him that choice.
Yeah, rumor has it he was actually a water buff. And it shows in the way he plays. But, you know, the more interesting thing that I'd be curious to know Anotand's thought process on is that think about what he picked on this map and think about what map he picked. Zushi Archipelago sounds very good. English, I get on a water map, we've seen it, but he still has Holy Island as well to concern himself with. So an intriguing pick for him to end up one game down, and now the second one not having the Zushi equipped. But I'm not surprised at all the Spaniards going with Ibids here. You know, it didn't work out well for Lucifron earlier when we saw him try the IE pick, but I think you might see a bit of a better comeuppance for them here up against English, as they do have some comparative upsides on water.
Now, with English, we've seen it on Holy Island, and I don't just mean on this one game. This has been a pick that some people pull out and they feel pretty confident against anything, Lancaster as well. But against what do you get the moment you age up on Archipelago? You get a king, and it usually feels like a bit of a waste if your unit is just standing there idle. So I'm kind of expecting a little bit of a transport play to force his opponent to just not take things as favorably as he wants, but that gives you the opening of absolutely being destroyed when that water fight hits. So with English, you have that element of surprise, but just like last time with Aeobits, we'll see what the age up choice is going to be, but we saw how quick that advancement came out and how handy it was. The thing is, it was against a civ that ages up pretty fast, so we'll see if that's going to be the choice yet again. Advancement just giving you so much of an even ground, I would say, to get that timing, to get a military ship out, because your age up is just so slow otherwise.
If he can deal this slow age up, though, I really like military wing here. So you get the Desert Raider, which contests the king when he comes across. And then it seems like that's a waste after that, but then you're just building up a land army over time. Then on a delay, you get your own transport ship, and you go and hit him. So it's pretty annoying, actually. For anyone who's experienced this playing English 2TC, you send your king out, and the Ibids can just contest you with a single Desert Raider. It's pretty demoralizing.
It feels like a risky move, though, because when you get into that position, your investment is already so heavy that you now get nothing other than that Desert Raider every few minutes. And if you get 3 or 4 longbows on the side of English, you usually have an answer to any amount of Desert Raiders that come your way, right?
Yeah, but the logic there is you have to build archery ranges, like and then you have to spend on the units, whereas like desert rays are free. So that's always been the advantage of the king originally. Is like, oh, hey, I like think about when we talked about earlier on Holy Island is now you have to build a rack, so you have to build units out of that racks to counter me. Whereas I've just got this guy for free. But like that's usually the thought process. We'll see if he leans to it. You know, you could get away with it. Yes, it's risky to not have advancement wing, but that's the beauty of the cheaper docks is that you just build additional docks and build more fishing boats. And you play the classic where I can't use all this resource yet, but then you're like the guy holding all of the apples, like I've just got all this money to spend when I get them.
Now, the big question for the opponent is always, what is my opponent doing? And usually can get those answers with a good old scout. But on Archipelago, you're left in the dark. And ladies and gentlemen, we're loading into English versus Aerobids. And VortiX being on home ground, just loving his good old water maps.
Is it ground? Home
Home
water. Like, yeah, home water.
Yes.
Home paddle. Yes,
paddle.
Archipelago Tournament Edition here. VortiX. Don't be deceived, folks. It's actually going to be him on the Aerobids and Anotand on Le Anglais. So, should get that switched around in a second, right? Oh, wait, did I read the draft wrong? I'm an idiot.
Now,
yes, I'm an idiot. All right, there we go. I read the draft wrong. We're talking the wrong way around. So, Anotand with Ayu here. You know, we're talking about like this theoretical opening into military wing. I think even more so with it being like Anno on Aerobids. I wouldn't be surprised if he does this. It's intriguing because it doesn't take much to get transport ship in. The risk of trying to play Desert Raiders here, of course, is English villages. Like, you could never approach a tree line because there's like 20 workers in there with short bows. But he's got a pretty good spawn for Golden Age here. Do you notice that?
yeah.
Really good.
This is a pretty good spot for getting that influence as large as possible, because you could potentially get that gold camp in there alongside it. It feels pretty busted here. The dock, probably not going to reach the first dock too quickly, but the second one that will surely follow is going to make that a lot easier as well. So now I can definitely see the value in all of this. I said second dock, but at the same time, we're already going for our gold. So this is going to give him a few more options with the age up, because I think a lot of players, they just invest a bit more into that second dock early on, and then their age up is so significantly delayed. Anotand is not willing to take a delayed age up, which means, like you said, he could go for a different wing. He has more options, KP. And is it going to be military? We're about to find out.
Yeah, I mean, the likelihood is it's advanced wing on a map like this, but the military wing idea is pretty crafty. It just, the fact that he's not building extra docks leans me back towards advancement. Like, if you were going to do the military wing build, you'd want 2 docks, maybe even 3. Because the whole idea is it's just, think of it as an outpost. It's a 75 wood outpost for your ships to keep safe, right? He is, however, keeping the villager out here like that with the sheep drop-off. He even started shoving in some deer. He's gathering it right now in the TC, so he's doing this to get an actively faster tech timing.
Now, we see both of these players, 6 villages on the wood, just to ensure that they can constantly make these fishing boats, not over-investing in that second dock just yet. Both of them wanting a pretty normal age-up timing. And honestly, I am just so excited to see what VortiX is going to be doing with that king. Because the king, just, you have so many expectations from it, and advancement ring has been clicked up. It just makes sense when you are on this map, because you need to get that military ship out as quickly as possible.
No, most definitely. Like, in this situation, like I said, with 1 dock, you're just not going to do anything but this. There's no greed involved. So he's leaning on the idea of that first boat timing to give him an advantage. VortiX age up should be starting shortly. Normally, you see players pulling towards the shoreline to build the Abbey of Kings. But that obviously is going to sacrifice your timing a bit. There's a lot of walk involved in that, and he doesn't have wheelbarrow.
A wheelbarrow being a pretty expensive investment here for most civilizations. It doesn't feel as necessary, especially when you are on water and you're not expecting to be raided in your base anytime soon. Your villagers can easily just put another drop-off building to make sure they do not need to run too far. But now with the Abbey of Kings out here, I guess it also heals the ships up a lot faster, right?
Yes. Yeah, and you know, this is the advantage on certain maps. There used to be a version of, not Archipelago, the other one, where you could get a perfect like convex, so that you could essentially just drop your Abbey of Kings on a small peninsula, and it would heal like 280 degrees of the full, which is really, really powerful. Then you had the polar opposite. I remember Marine Lord, who's a big believer in English on Baltic. And Baltic is a concave. That's terrible, right? Because you only have about 30 or 40% arc that you, 50, 60% arc you can use. Yes, it is very good. And it means that you can play more actively towards Admiralty, because if you play Defender here and chill, you get the space, because you should, in theory, be more efficient on trades.
Now, with the age up, oof.
That's early.
Transport ship. That was not that. Did not expect that at all, KP. Getting a transport ship out this early just means that you do not have an answer. And he's going to spot it instantly.
Yeah. I kind of love that, actually. It's a scouting boat. It lets him know, because he immediately queues up a Springald, because it could have been Springald, Archer, probably not Demo. So this is funny, because transport ships don't take bonus damage from anything on sea. So, like, demos, it takes 5 demos to kill a transport ship. So this just gives you a really easy way of seeing what your opponent's doing.
Especially when he gets to pull back and gets healed up at the speed of light here. Now, these fishing boats do need to be careful, because you do not want to lose any bit of aggression. Oh, yeah, early on. But look at that demo ship about to connect. Losing his
second one, he wasn't expecting it. He didn't expect 2.
Anotand just completely making VortiX look like he's the man who was actually born next to the water. Our Belarusian Chad just dictating the pace of the game, instantly queuing up more units. But now a horseman as well. In this time, he dropped his stable. He's going to need to find an answer for that king, but he's got an answer. The king now joining the land, but
yeah, that village is dead, right? Yeah, he doesn't even pull away. Whoops. So -1. And Anatand's reaction is intriguing, actually. He goes horseman instead of desert raider.
Now, horseman, it feels decent against most, but with the movement speed, you're definitely going to be able to get the king and do the damage before he starts healing up. Another villager might just be going down. It looks like that king got a very healthy connect. Villager survives, though. But with a horseman, you're forcing the king to constantly be on the run. And like I said, he's not going to start healing. So that horseman is going to be the key to actually taking down the king on land here.
The interesting thing, though, is like a desert raider kind of gives you the same by peppering with arrows as you go. Yeah, double horseman should work. He's going to try to pick up, but the Springald shot, nicely played. Anotand gets the denial. VortiX, the plan is looking shaky.
And where do you go from here? Because with English, this was one of your major plays, and it needed to get some value. 1 villager's good value, but you lost 4 fishing ships, so it just does not get the same. These demos trying to get us around.
Oh my god, galleys are so horrible like this. It's ring a rosies, but does he get? He gets the blocker, loses the galley. That's going to now be a man that sails to try and escape. The Springald connects, which hinders him. It disables the faster movement speed. The demo connect. What? I sometimes these goddamn things. Okay, I would be breaking my keyboard right now and throwing it out the PC out of the window if I was Anno.
It gets the full shot. That one was pretty clean, KP. The other one, he missed by a hairline. Poor guy. But
yeah, it's like awkward. I think it's to do with diagonal angles and horizontals when you pull away. It's like you can bait demo ships into detonating when they're actually not close enough. Because there's a delay on them activating.
Now, he has 2 Springald ships here. VortiX floating quite a bit of wood here. He just wants to keep making ships every time he can. And he's remade the king. So with the king now, the problem is he's still going to be dropping on land, and there's still 2 horsemen there. And Anotand already having the production building, he's going to be able to make another unit. He's going to be able to make a desert raider if needed. So VortiX cannot send that king out without being slightly accompanied, at least.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see VortiX start to think about this transport ship as a tank in the fights. Because it is. It takes a lot of hits to die. So you can just kind of use it to absorb shots, body block into demos, maybe draw fire from arrow ships. I don't know. Has he got teak masts? I don't know if I saw him get that earlier.
Now,
no. Interesting build order then. Teak masts, the Spaniards at least, they highly value at the start of the age.
Now, the connection here could be quite brutal. We see the demo ship making its way through, but the galley is target firing. Problem is just, it's not going to be able to connect that hard. The galley from the back as well, sniping it. Beautiful play here by VortiX. VortiX now transitioning into a bit more of a standard water battle game. Initially, the sneaky shenanigans paid off for Anotand, but VortiX realizes if he just plays this the way he knows how to play it, Anotand might struggle.
VortiX does have eco issues, though. I know up by 5 is not a good look for the Spaniard. And, well, you talked about it. The king, congrats. You just got coronated. Let's take you out on the streets, the back streets, where we can mug you and kill you.
Now, he gets one of the horsemen pretty low, but knowing what the Aeobids holds, and in this case more horses, that is not going to be a horseman that's low for long. Now, another horseman has been the investment. They've already got one king killed. Now, this man might survive, made his way back. This time the ships are not in position to take half his HP, so he will be able to make it safe to back to base safely and heal up.
The classic English strategy: when you start losing the war, get on your boats and go back to your island. It's worked well for us over the years.
The French can take a hint or two from there, right? So VortiX, he's now with these Sprig-old ships trying to get a little bit of a poke off. And Anotand's ship army is still looking pretty scary, but he does only have 5 demos, I say, ironically. Because VortiX also has 4 demos. Yeah, no. These boys like the surprise explosions. We'll just see if they use the kelp correctly.
See if they can lie in wait until the right moment. The interesting one is actually this closest stealth water between the two sides. And that's why it's usually valuable to have fishing boats leaning here. But VortiX is actually blind around that area. So it's an advantage for Anotand to leverage because his fishing boats are in range of it.
Now VortiX is trying to get every bit of poke he can. And Anotand, he realizes the element of surprise worked before. This is what the Spanish brothers do. I'm going to get more demos. And VortiX was watching his brother play earlier. He's going to know what to do when this connection does hit. But I know Anotand and Marine Lord played together a fair bit. So these two, they might play quite similarly. And we've already seen a little bit of that. But now it looks like Anotand is moving out himself. We've got a galley firing back, but... Oh, another galley being queued up from VortiX as well. He wants to be ready for demos, but you know, this can get quite hairy. The 3 demos... Trying to make their way through to the back.
Wait, what? Oh, he's distracted. Okay, so he gets the detonation on the fishing boats there. A little bit of trade out. But Anotand, he's still got a second wave lurking in the wings here. And VortiX, does he think that was it?
Oh, maybe. Look at the resources. Twitch chat, are you ready? Anotand, he's banking up a little bit. Making sure he gets every boat he can afford. But he's going down to defense. This is going to be important here. He needs to make sure those ships are healed up, especially when the demos connect. They know this is a demo against demo game. So Anotand ready to click up to that castle any moment now. And VortiX is nowhere close. So the problem is just, is this VortiX's moment where he will then attack?
Yeah, VortiX played the defense so well. When those 3 demos got by the first archer ship, that's like disaster zone. You have to have a second archer ship there. Because if you're driving yourself away from an archer ship, it won't hit you. So that could have been an absolute disaster from there. But great maintainment of his composure there. VortiX able to shove this away. The surround didn't work. Anotand was coming from about 4 different angles, sort of, with the demos. VortiX has just been on point with his galley allocation. He still has 3, and he's been spreading them out instead of just doing the classic, let's bring them together and everyone shoot in one direction.
Now we can see the Spring-old ships are looking for a little bit of poke here. Anotand has been denied of his castle age initially because he's so focused on ensuring he can keep this water fight going. But he overextends a little bit here, and the demos might be able to find a pretty decent connection. It does look like it breaks through, but the one will absorb the fight.
And second detonation coming in. We'll connect on the backside. Meanwhile, the counter demo play. It brings a Hulk low, but that's just going to be a trade out 1-to-1. Great fight there for VortiX, and you got to be asked the question, where was the galley? Look at it. Anotand, his little Dow was all the way over on the wrong side of the affair. So the demo now able to brute force him, hold him hostage. The archer ship is perfectly positioned to intercept. The demos try and come around the back, but VortiX denies him again. The front stab to push him away, but VortiX says no.
And Anotand is trying his best at letting these demo ships connect. He realizes, I have just invested so much on water here. Stop my castle. This is something I need to win, but VortiX, he knows his strength. He knows how to play the water, and he's just playing his game.
This is ridiculous. I feel like I'm not watching Age of Empires 4 anymore. It's like, you know, one of those little .io games where you're on the dots and you have to eat the smaller dots to get... They're just randomly going around. We've just got demo flotillas dancing in the middle of our screen here. But truly, the Mastodon and the master dancer has to be VortiX. What an elegant execution to come through the other side with a dominant lead. 7 Springolds to Anotand's 1.
Now, VortiX is still doubling down on these demos. He knows this has been working. Anotand is forced to keep making them as well. And the investment on all of those demos, they just have not paid off as much as they needed to. He got those villager kills or ship kills early on in the game, but it definitely was not enough to shut down VortiX. Now, again, we're getting to that point of the game where the wood lines are thinning out quite a bit, but the demo ships are coming from behind. Anotand trying to get a good connection, and he gets a decent one, but I think it's a little bit late for him, as VortiX is just getting better ones.
Yeah, he only needs to trade evenly from here. He's shuttering the economy is the idea. And, you know, this is risky. Like, VortiX, it shows you how good his position is that he's been able to drift all the way to the east side of Anotand's base. That's not easy to do. That's risky from these type of positions. VortiX, now we'll just start backing off again. Remember, he has got the king. He didn't think about transport shipping in again when Anno's distracted here. Would be a good play.
Now, Admiralty definitely paying off for English here with that range. They are just hiding. Ooh, doing amazing. But Anotand getting a few good connections here. Just enough to push VortiX back for a little while. But Anotand, he's going to need to keep making ships. And VortiX, he's got a lot of food in the bank. See, this is an interesting position because now there's that time where he needs to migrate. And he has the wood to sustain him through all of that. Anotand might face a very different problem soon. The demo ship going to be taking out that Springald at the bottom there as well. And we just see constant water action. A Springald ship barely surviving and running towards safety. But both of these guys need to keep the ship economy going. And VortiX just got idle villagers, so that means that wood line is about depleted.
I just feel like if we interviewed Anotand right now to ask him his strategy for doing these demo ships, we're like, so here's the idea, guys. I'm gonna let them hit me in the face. Okay? And then what? And then I'm gonna let them hit me in the face again. That doesn't sound like a strategy. Oh! I'll keep getting hit in the face, but I won't die. It's ridiculous. Like, look at the destroyed value.
Absolutely disgusting. VortiX just hitting everything with double the value, double the fun. But now, wood slowing down a bit. We see the demo ships making its way through as people are focused on different directions. One Springald ship paying the price. Galleys perfectly sniping down. We can see Anotand trying to get rid of these galleys here at the back. Trying to get a good connection there too. And it's definitely okay.
That was the roughest piece of micro from VortiX I've seen so far. Like, his galleys were just standing still, and the back demo was kiting. You almost got connected on like 3 spring ships, which would have changed everything. So, like, Anotand, although it looked a bit weird of a fight, like, actually, he done pretty well there. He was on the verge of resetting water.
Now, I do see a dock going out there on the far right of Anotand's base, and that could signal our... Oh, no, it's just some fishing ships minding their own business. They're just thinking about work. They've worked hard enough for some battle.
It's just an extravagant mill when you think about it. 75 wood, not much. You can just set one up if you want to. But VortiX. The interesting thing is actually how much we've seen English play mass demos. You saw from this one as well. Usually English on water isn't about demo ship play. It's just about mass Springolds.
That was a pretty big hit as well. Anotand, now 9 workers idle. Now all of a sudden that worker lead he had for a while is just not looking the same, as VortiX also most likely started making more fishing boats here. Now, we do see that this military mass is still growing at this point, where you would be expecting them to slow down. Both of these guys know whoever slows down first, you're cooked.
Yeah, and they are cooking with fire. Demo ship spam from both of them. VortiX just queued up another 5. This is the GG juggler kick he's looking for. The demo wave 1 comes in. Archer ship skirted by. Catches the enemy demos as well. So that's a detonation on detonation. A few make their way through onto the bagglers. to shut them down. And VortiX going in with a Falcon Punch, detonates the fleet, takes out one of the docks, he blocks the back, and he's now 1 game away from booking a second Spanish-French date this weekend.
No, Anotand, he absolutely looked fantastic on water there. He looked confident, but VortiX, he's VortiX. He knew the strength of his civilization. He realized those early game shenanigans may not have paid off. He just needed to play his game on the water like he always does, and eventually it will pay off. But Anotand definitely looking quite scary. I think he might even scare a few people away from his water play after that performance.
It's exactly what we've come to expect from him. I mean, Anotand, though, he has been leveling up his water game. I think I felt it in this one, and, you got to give him a lot of credit. It's not easy to beat the Spaniards. And I think, some people say, well, why would you go to this map? It was your map selection. Think about it this way. There's 2 water maps. That's a big chunk of the draft, and you already lost game 1. So you need to win a water map anyway. You might as well get it out of the way while you feel like you still have robustness to your draft.
Especially if you feel confident in this. And the way Anotand played, he looked confident. I think this is probably one of his best performances. It's just, this is VortiX. So I can definitely see Anotand beating most top players with the way he played this water game. So, fantastic showing. And I think this will make a lot of people excited about seeing Anotand picking a water map here. But guys, we have our next map. Oh, first, just watch that demo ship do absolute destruction. Disgusting.
Nothing. Oh, you mean the other one. Sorry. That final was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do better than my big bro. Damn it. So, it might be a damn it moment here. Chinese.
And what's really interesting about the Chinese pick now is Chinese is a civ that also does pretty well on the water, but at the same time, VortiX has a lot of options. He's got HRE. Oh, never mind. That's the only option. That was it. Sorry, guys. But we also saw Anotand doing a few spicy things with House of Lancaster before. So Anotand also has Order of the Dragon, something that you can leave for Holy Island, but Front Range, I think, is the map that is the least explored by most of us. And I say this on behalf of all players who only play ladder. What is the deal with Front Range? What are we expecting in terms of map drafts? Because this is something that I think in your tournament, a lot of players have been picking. So tell me more about the drafting that we're expecting from the rest of the series, if it gets there.
Yeah, so Front Range is a very interesting map design. If anyone comes from a deeper Age of Empires background, I would compare it to Coast to Mountain from Age of Empires 2. The design of the map really is, it tries to pull you in 2 different directions. You start with very little food. There's only 9 sheep that spawn per player. You usually 50% them, so that's 9 sheep to work with in total. Compare that to Dry Arabia where you're like 16 or whatever. It's crazy how little you get. Then the tree lines. They're Himayama size, very small. The gold veins, 2 of them, 1,600 gold each. Not a lot of gold. That's less than you get on a starting gold on Dry Arabia. The rest of the gold is up in the mountains. The rest of the food is down in the south. So what you normally see here is people in the early mid-game fixate around the food. They try to gather that area, and then they push out. Boar civs in particular have been popular here because there's 2 boar located between the bases. The gold comes later when you try and wall it up. So there's this interesting negotiation on the early mid-game, and what we've noticed as a pattern is that booming civs don't often thrive here. We've occasionally seen things like Malians, English occasionally get a win, but the dominant picks have been Ottomans, Japan, HRE, and HRE of Minework builds, by the way. Anotand has liked Order of the Dragon, but in theory, passive civs like Lancaster can work as well. And, well, I mean, way to not line Anotand up to look like he's about to win, guys.
Anotand, this man, I feel like he's been an up-and-coming player for a while, and now taking down a lot of players. We're expecting him to reach the heights of Marine Lord eventually, and he does pop his head in there every now and again, but he's up against these veterans in RTS, and it is a pretty tough position to constantly play against. But VortiX with the 8% win rate against Anotand, that is pretty scary for any player to go up against.
It is, and I remember that 4-0 in the KPMM. It was pretty rough. Like VortiX rolled over him. That was the week where I was like, this guy's gonna win Nest here this year. So just final thoughts on Front Range. What you're probably seeing there, Anno will be either going Order of the Dragon or Lancaster. VortiX, Ottomans, or HRE, either one works, but HRE should be reserved for Holy Island, so Bruce is probably a discard. And then for Anno, Order the Dragon or Lancaster really fits into either of these remaining maps. But you said he's interesting in his Lancaster approach on this map. I'd rather probably see Order the Dragon there, and then you Lanny Boy into the final one, because the Lord's build on land right now
It's crazy.
It's dirty. It's like, if you talk to players right now, we heard it from Lucifron last weekend, where he put Lancaster pretty much on the same tier as China.
Just because of that current build?
Yeah, it's, you know, he played against, I think it might have been Recon, and was it Recon or Voldemort? Someone I remember, like, they told me, they asked him, how do you beat this? And Lucifron's response was, I don't know.
Oh, see, I actually coached someone pretty recently, and she asked me, what am I supposed to do against this? And I'm like, go next. Go next. It is what it is. Sometimes there's a counter. Sometimes it needs a little bit of rebalancing. And this one needs a little bit of rebalancing. But I'm sure this will come on out as all the pro players say this in unison. But guys, we have Gorge, China against Malians. Both civilizations that like a little bit of pro scouting. I say a little, but a lot of pro scouting. But Malians, they do get away with not doing so and just being aggressive. So we've been seeing some pretty spicy builds here from VortiX as well. And I'm guessing that's why Anotand also knows he does not want VortiX touching the civilization. So let's go see what he does on Malians himself.
It would be the heroic recovery. Anotand seeking his best performance, a true triumphant moment for him in S-tier tournament. But he faces elimination here. Game number 3, his biggest hurdle, to beat the Chinese in tournament play. He trusts the Malians to deliver that to him, but VortiX is no easy opponent, as we've seen in the first two. Could he do it? Could he get that reverse sweep? Could he then go in and maybe beat Marine Lord? Or are we just destined to see Spanish dominance throughout this weekend?
Now, usually with Malians, if you give them a little bit of leeway, they're pretty good at responding to most things in Feudal Age, because we've been seeing a lot more aggression on sofas, and they've actually been showing their value. The thing about China is they very quickly get control of the food, and they don't actually have to go out on the rest of the map and be susceptible to raiding. When your goal is that far forward, it feels pretty nice to just go there and smack a few villages down with a little sofa, getting a charge in every now and again. Now, we're talking about a few more minutes from now, so definitely not something to be concerned about just yet. But looking at the deer spawns, I feel like VortiX is going to be pretty happy knowing that his deer are in 2 different directions, and he's actually going to be able to pro scout, and if Anotand gets a bit of control, he should be able to still get a few through those lines. But Anotand, he cannot lose control of that side, because the gold is there, the other gold is there, the deer are there, and all of a sudden VortiX will just snowball completely.
Still, it's actually a really good spawn to just middle finger pro scouts here for Anotand. Don't do it yourself, just play in the area. You know, get an outpost up, wall it up. It's nice to actually have that outpost out on the big gold vein, because you want to pit mine that anyway. So being out there for the deer, like, you just get a way of competing pro scouts from China without having to do it yourself, which equalizes the game. So yeah, like, if there was a spawn that could get Anotand into this series again, I think this is the one.
Yes. It's just if VortiX finds a way to shut this down, the problem is just he needs a little bit of time. And Malians, they just don't need that same amount of time to get that going. So, yeah, no, I can definitely see this being a pretty big snowball position for him. Now, Mansa Quarry, still going to take 50 seconds, not too much of a rush. But I would like to see if Anotand goes for the VortiX build that we saw on YouTube recently. So for those of you who haven't seen what VortiX does, he goes for 3 very, very early cows. So this boosts that food economy, but the thing is, he just scouted those deer. He definitely does not need to think about, hey, am I going to have access to enough food? Or can I use this a little bit differently?
It's ironic you were talking that way, because I was wondering if VortiX was going to go for the Anno build, China, which is the opening archery. You just spam out several archers and you push in, and then you pro scouts on a delay. But I just think we just got straight up pro scouts. It doesn't seem like he's interested in aggression. I mean, in fairness, trying to archer opening into Malians feels like a death sentence. You just encourage javs. But it would at least give you some momentum. Like, there's certain matchups where when China does that, you feel like you just have no answer. And I think that's a big part of why China has become the most expansive and competitive. Once upon a time, they didn't have options. Now, with the Pro Scout meta behind us, or rather, you know, the offset residual afterwards, they have so many different things they do well. You know, the early game was their weak point about a year and a half ago. No longer the case.
And Anotand now moving his way forward, going to be attacking those villages on gold. I'd love to see if that is as stable as his first building, because he's floating quite a bit of gold, and another scout is coming out. This means that that scout on the gold villages, he's there to do damage. And the second scout coming out, is this just going to be pro scouts? Because Anotand, he's floating a lot of gold all of a sudden. And he might just be feeling, let me just bring those deer a little bit closer. And then I don't need to move out on the map and take any risks.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising, but, you know, opening scouts like this anyway, they're very good at contesting pro scouts with other civs, you know. Other civs consider spearmen. Well, this is like your spearmen on horseback, really. At least against scouts.
Now, with all of the extra bonuses those scouts have, it does feel pretty good to have them. But the spearmen now coming on out. The thing is, what I love about the Malian scouts, you can, with 2 scouts, you can kill a spearman pretty easily, and it feels nice to do so. You just need to do a little bit of micro, which, I mean, Anotand, he has a lot of APM that he can use to do so. But double VortiX being clicked up, he realizes those deer are all in the same position. I am just going to be leveraging that instead of taking any risks and doing pro scouting myself. Use those scouts to actually be active and force you onto making other units you probably don't want to make.
Well, with the freak out opening, you know, how deep do you look to go on greed here? We have got second pit mine, like we talked about, being set up. Honestly, I want to see him just anchor this area. One outpost per pit mine, and actually keep early pressure away unless VortiX does some sort of insane, you know, 12, 14 spearman build. It's possible, but the problem with doing that is that you invite Malians to do archers, which is what they want for mid-game anyway.
Now we already see the first Sofa KP. This man, he's doubling down on the horses and getting the archery range out now. He's going to make the things he feels comfortable archers because, like I said, in Castle, they're the unit you want against most things that come their way. So he's not even forced into making javelins, which I mean is a pretty expensive investment for Malians early on, but they are so effective. Archery range coming from VortiX as well. So going to be getting that horseman archer composition to be able to contest against whatever Malians throws their way. The problem is what they're throwing their way come in form of Sofa. And Sofas are so difficult because initially your spearmen are doing fine. Your archers are going to be able to do a bit, but then the numbers increase. And from there on, things just get way more difficult.
Yeah, the thing about Sofa is it's basically the go-to unit now for Malians. You know, it used to be once you reach Castle Age, but now in the Feudal Age, and that was because of a buff that came through a while ago now, actually. They got an increase in health by, I think it's 5, and then a damage by 1. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it was enough to make a difference for this particular unit. For a few different reasons, like for raiding Sofa are incredible now, because up at 17 damage, it gives them enough to free hit kill workers. On top of that, people just got better at using cavalry overall in the last year. You see it with things like Sipahi becoming meta. Same with Sofa. You know, if you are on point, switched on using these units correctly, they're incredibly advantageous, and that is incredibly dirty. Anotand lames the ball to starve VortiX out later.
And we've seen how comfortable the Spanish brothers are on going out on the map for that food source. So for those of you who don't know what just happened, Anotand just killed the boar, and him being Malians, the boar despawns at that point. And now that denies VortiX a whole chunk of boar meat. He's not going to be able to go out on the map and just snack on what he loves snacking on. But now Anotand has this very mobile army that he can use to constantly bait out VortiX, and VortiX is just going to need to take unfavorable trades non-stop.
Yeah, and that's minus 2,200 food, but actually it's so much worse than that for China, because that's minus 2,640 food because of supervision. So a huge boon you're now missing, and one that you can normally lean into quite easily with a Barbican play, dropping the Barbican build. So nicely played. And I know it's going to get asked in chat. Is that illegal? No, it's not. It's allowed. It's completely allowed, right? It's been in the game for ages. Apparently, it even got confirmed by the devs that like it's intended behavior.
I mean, it adds that extra element to the game, of course. And a lot of people, when we were doing things like pushing deer away from their pack so they despawn on the minimap, all those aspects, if they're planned, it does feel like it's that extra element that you need to make effort on reaching. Now, VortiX has been doing that spearman push you talked about earlier, and 15, that is a lot. Now, with the archers in the mix as well, it doesn't feel that easy for Anotand to just keep massing archers, but that's exactly what he's doing. He's got the sofas, now 10 sofas. This is going to be quite hard to kill, because those things, they can take quite a punch. They're not necessarily a knight, but night lights.
They're a soft knight, yeah. The thing is, it's weird. We have light cav, heavy cav. It's like the kind of medium cav. But the interesting thing is, like, what you need to do with Sofa here to win this fight, you don't take the direct fight yet. You just intercept reinforcements. There is a window here because VortiX has held back all archers, which was pretty smart, actually. So maybe Ano could pin him here.
The thing is, those red dots all around the map, we can see these others trying to get back to their friends. The problem is, if you get back to those friends into the spears, the spears providing that front line, the horses do not want to take that trade. We only have 2 cows in the pens right now, and there were 3. So he did
ejected.
Yeah, he ejected one of them and now re-injected the cow. So he definitely has had to snack on some external food sources, which is quite problematic here, because that deer we talked about earlier, it's non-existent. He had the map and he didn't leverage it at all, at least on that side for now, because now that map is in the favor of VortiX, and him going Castle Age now, it's pretty scary. The thing is, he doesn't have the food for constant production right now. He's got a little bit of deer left, but it just doesn't feel like it's the moment, right?
Can we just rant about that a little bit? Like, think about the state of military, the difference between them on like army value. How did he just afford that?
Taxes, KP.
China.
Government. China.
Government.
China is just one of the strongest civilizations. Yeah, that's the problem. They have... Yeah?
They're going to be our overlords in a few years, I think, is where you want to follow that up with, right? Like, you got to put the tinfoil hat on. This is why they're always banned. It's the only Civ I so consistently just look up and see that they're teching suddenly. You know, like any other Civ, you can see the flow. You're like, yeah, castle's coming. These guys, what a hit. Finds the rebuilders for the pit mine with the horseman. Halving is going to send him all the way to the afterlife.
The problem is, this is not a Malians who's ready for a Castle Age. This is a Malians who is about to struggle very much with food and with any level of pressure, because with Malians, you want to have a few cows on the pen when you age up at least. Even if you're going for the Farimba, you need some level of food source. And right now, he has nothing. You see him desperately trying to get up to castle himself with 0 cows in the bank. With the corral with no cows.
It's an empty Lani.
This is, you know what this is? Like, watching this cows right there, you said you want to have a few cows. It's like that person that goes, look, I have a pet goldfish, and it's floating at the top. You're like, oh, honey. I don't know how to tell you this. Technically, it's still your pet. It's just not really going to respond anymore, and this is rough. I mean, I know he's going to have 13 Sofa, but the brutality of China is the Lancer spam now. Supervision just pumps them out so fast.
And the sad Lani is going to give him no bonus, except for the 1 cow he managed to sneak into that pen right now. Probably feeling pretty nice. Ooh, 2 of them, guys. That's some extra food. Not a lot, but some. The archers
This is
now.
like when you've got the stubborn, when you got like the stubborn mule that doesn't want to mate. It's like, come on, guys. We need a farm here. We need a farm full of cows. All right, you guys are going to make up, Bessie.
Now he's trying to get every bit of gold he can. Use up his upgrades because he realizes this is that dive that goes against Malians the moment you hit castle. We've seen this. We felt this. The difference is usually that dive is against a fully cow-boomed civilization. And you usually have an answer to when they hit you. Right now, he's got no answer. He's got no cows. And he's got no access to gold. And all of a sudden, these villagers are Just going to be getting wood, and there's only going to be more archers. To an army of lancers.
Welcome to China.
China. Yeah.
Could go back there again, aren't we? I didn't realize there was such a horse nation these days. A lot of horsepower behind them. The Archimass beating the Malian ones, not a great look for Anotand right now. I mean, the sofas is one stay safe. Problem is, trying to state your economy, you're going to get eclipsed in that department in the next 2 minutes maximum. Not a great feeling. And he did at least just get imported armors coming through, but ranged armor 2 on the way from VortiX to mirror out. And we do not have poisoned arrows for the Malians.
You can see the Sofas trying to be the front line here because they realize if these lancers get on top of the archers, they are going to be cooked. There's no better way. The cow meat is going to be a thing of the past. We have horse meat on the menu, and all of a sudden, these horsemen are trying to dive. They get quite a bit of a decent trade, but the choke point here, actually from the TC fire, could do a lot. We see the archers just target firing these at the back. Sofas trying to get a proper surround, and the spearmen just couldn't get a connection there. Perfectly target fired here by Anotand.
VortiX is like, hey, just in case you didn't know, I've got another win condition behind this if this doesn't convince you to tap out. I mean, I don't know how 135 passive food from his Fulani couldn't possibly carry him through all of this idle, but it's looking done, Warman. Anotand, he talked big last weekend. He said he'd be able to slay Marine Lord, but clearly the problem was getting past VortiX. The beast has not dropped one game. Anno finishes 4th, and it will be Marine Lord's nightmare. After the Lucifron experience, he's going to have to experience another Spaniard.
And these two Spaniards playing very similarly as they do practice together quite a bit. These two have their own style, and Marine Lord, he looks confident on the water, but so do they. So there's still a lot of tricks that they can pull out here to surprise Marine Lord. And honestly, after seeing the performance from Lucifron, I don't think tricks are necessary. These guys can do it on skill. But Marine Lord, he's got his honor to defend. This man is going to be ready for it. Anotand going down to VortiX, but this is nothing to be ashamed of. VortiX played beautifully. His brother also now being in the finals, it feels pretty good for them. And Anotand, we'll see him in the next tournament, see how much he can take down in that case. But right now, I hope you guys are excited to see VortiX versus Marine Lord, because these two have a lot to fight for.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, it's a rough one for Anno. Nobody truly comes back from the no Lani. You know, you need a full Lani. It's a rough type of position to be in. China as the final one, I think he inevitably felt it coming after that second game. It's just a predictable pick, but he knew if he used Lancaster, at best it gets you a stay of execution. He wants to be stronger in the later part of the draft. But well played to him. Spanish boys back on top, and I think it's much needed here. You know, Marine Lord, it looked like the biggest threat to his dominance was Louis MT, and after what we saw from Louis in this tournament, not being able to find his groove, a lot of people at that point probably just started muttering it's a Marine Lord victory again. And not that simple. Like, VortiX, he needed this type of clean performance of Anotand to convince us that he could have a chance now of taking down the champ of Age of Empires 4. But we'll be able to hear from him in a second, and I'm curious to pick his brain, like in particular, how he feels after watching that Lucifron.
Lucifron is not going to make this an easy one, even if it's VortiX making his way all the way there. Tomorrow is going to be the final, for those of you asking. So we do have the next series coming up after this. We'll be heading into an interview soon, going into a break, and then heading into our final series for today. So get yourselves ready. They're ready for the interview. And ladies... Oh, never mind. I called it a little bit early. Never mind.
You got baited by a behind-the-scenes meme. It's going to be an interesting one to talk to Lad and see how he's feeling off this. I mean, I know he was a mixed bag of emotions after the Puppy Paw series last weekend. You know, we heard it from him. Like, he was on the verge of elimination, and the remake, he'll say himself, was a stay of execution and then a reset that was much needed. Just unfortunate the way it happened, but you know, today was a statement like, nah, there's no flukes here, no second chances needed. Clean execution from VortiX, which is what we love to see. Just unfortunate it had to be the demise of Anotand. Big shout out to him though. You know, he may not be making the finals day, but he's getting up there consistently. But it's time. Let's go and talk to VortiX. VortiX, mate, congratulations on a clean victory over Anotand. I want to pick your brain on going into this day. Anotand last weekend, I'm sure you heard his interview, some very big, bold words, mainly targeted at Marine Lord. How were you feeling going into this matchup, though? Thinking about Anotand as an opponent, did you have to approach this series any different than you normally would?
Well, thank you, first of all. Well, I think Anotand was just, I mean, he was just spicing things up, right? I don't think he was delusional or something. Coming into the series, I felt really comfortable. I think I tend to do well against Anotand, at least when I'm on top shape. So was kind of feeling it. But I'm also a little bit scared because it's a very tiring day, right? I'm already super tired, so a really rough series coming now, but I'm feeling really happy.
It's I think it was I will beat VortiX 3-0, and then I'll beat Marine Lord for Lucifer 4-0. So you pretty much just used his own words against him anyway, which is beautiful. But talk to me. I need to get your opinion on the Lucifer series, right? Because it fits in nicely here. You scrim with both of the remaining players excessively. Were you shocked by the outcome for your brother there? Because that was an impressive victory over the hardest player to beat right now.
Well, I have to say, though, I don't play with Marine Lord that much, at least lately. I did play with him back in the day, but now he doesn't want to practice with me anymore, so a little bit... not surprised. I mean, Lucifer right now, his shape is tremendous. Like, I've been struggling so hard in practice against him lately. He beat me in round 2, right, in winner bracket. So, at 3-1, pretty clear one, I think. Marine Lord is really good, obviously, so he can always win. But honestly, going into this series, I felt maybe 51-49 for Lucifer for the first time, right? Because I think normally you don't want to bet against Marine Lord, but coming into this one, I actually gave Lucifer a little bit of an edge.
Well, and it's going to be an interesting situation to see whether it be you or Marine Lord going up to your bro on that final day. But going back to just Anotand one more time and talking about as a player. And the players in general, some have been talking about going to this tournament. It feels like the skill level has continued to increase, but it also kind of feels like the amount of players who could be on the podium is going up as well. Like, have you felt that pressure, and how has that played into your resurgence back into competitive Age of Empires?
Yeah, like right now, I mean, you always want to put Marine Lord like a step ahead because he is historically done better than anybody else. But I think after him, like, anything can happen between like the next 8 or 9 players. I think we're on a very similar level, and then I guess it comes to like spikes of level when you get like motivation and stuff. Lucifer and I kind of had it lately. Like, I think we had a good spike of motivation, and that showed in games, right? I beat Marine Lord in a Bohers. He beat him just now, right, a few hours ago. But yeah, I think it's as competitive as ever. But I wouldn't say it's so much. Like in this tournament, for example, we're missing Beastie, who's historically been one of the 2 best players. So I think we can do even better than this tournament. We can get even higher level for sure. But it's the level in AOE4 right now is awesome.
Absolutely, and I've got to ask the question: has Lucifer been leaking the deets? Were there some things that he told you after the Marine Lord series and anticipation? Because of course you've got that set coming up today.
Nah, I actually didn't have time to talk with him yet, so I will ask him for some tips. But I mean, I don't really need it. Like, Marine Lord is easy. He's not getting into the final. I can tell you that.
Is easy. What's the score? You beating it? Like, you give him one game maybe, like 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1 seems. Actually, nah. Let's make it 4-0. I want to go sleep soon and be fresh for tomorrow's final. I think that's what I'm aiming for.
I mean, I said to the lads, it's bold, because if we get you and your brother in a finals, because it's just the finals tomorrow, I was like, historically, you guys have very quick games.
Yeah.
Has anything changed there?
I think it depends on the matchup a little bit, but it's just this meta, right? I feel games in general are faster now. So obviously, if both of us are involved, it's even faster. But I wouldn't say so. In custom games, we've had crazy like 50-minute games, but they're not like boring games, right? It's back and forth aggression all the time, and they might have gone to like 40, 50 minutes. So maybe if I can make it, obviously, I was kidding, right? Marine Lord is super hard. But if I can make it, I think we could have a really, really nice final.
Look at that. You went humble. Like this has been the key. The Spaniards have been humble throughout the finals, and then maybe it'll serve you well, mate. You go get rested up, get yourself prepped. You got a little bit of time. Congratulations on being Anotand.
Thank you.
Good luck against Marine Lord.